Welcome. Welcome, everyone. I'm Tamara Hurl, and you are here on Be the Change Conversations with Visionaries. I am on a mission to create a movement of visionaries who are ready to help humanity transform and reimagine itself, those things that aren't working in the world. And today we're going to be talking to Carmen Rumbaut, and so excited to hear what she has to say. We haven't actually met in person, but we connected virtually, and I was just so impressed with what Carmen's doing. Carmen was a child immigrant, social worker, and attorney. She's traveled through several religions and wisdom traditions, including Catholicism, atheism, yoga philosophy, Buddhism for several decades, and now on her own, she's mixing and matching what works for her. The Unitarian Universalists are a good community for her, she's found. Carmen was very politically active, especially in the area of climate weirding. She was trained by Al Gore's Climate Reality Project and as a facilitator for the Work That Reconnects. These days, Carmen loves to draw and paint all kinds of different art. She writes poetry and articles. She plays guitar, composes songs, and focuses on joy. What an awesome focus. Carmen's focus on spiritual but not religious has been motivated by wanting a community where people can freely talk about and explore their mystical and mysterious experiences. So welcome, Carmen.
Thank you, Tamara. So great to be here. I didn't know about your visionary program until we were connected. And then I thought, well, this is a great idea. I like the focus you have.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And I like the focus that you have. And, when we talked, there are so many things that you're passionate about, and you have so much wisdom. I think what got us connected in terms of having you be part of this interview series was your work with spirituality versus religion. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got interested in that topic?
Sure. Well, I got interested in using that term, spiritual but not religious, because so many people are now self-labeling themselves that. And it's been in the news how it's growing and growing. And at the same time, it's also been in the news that religions are feeling that they are having a harder time hanging on to the numbers that they used to have of people who came to their churches. So I think, so I started getting curious about what do people think about when they decide, okay, I am spiritual but not religious? What is it that they mean by it? Because I can imagine that there's a huge variety. Spiritual can mean, well, first of all, there are trigger terms, right? Because many of us have gone through some kind of religious trauma where we got hurt by some philosophy that was like, for example, that there is a punitive God. Or what I was taught in Catholic school, that there's limbo. Limbo is where God in his mercy would send babies who hadn't yet gotten baptized because their parents hadn't gotten around to it. And limbo was just a big nothingness. It wasn't hell, it wasn't painful, but it was just nothing. And if anything could be more horrible for a child, and for an immigrant child, who feels like they're in a nothingness because they can't understand what's going on, and that's what this God meant to do with these innocent babies who had nothing to do with it. So with that kind of impact on me, I'm very careful what words I use with other people, because spiritual can mean different things. So I decided to have a meetup group and get people together and talk about, well, what do you mean? If you're spiritual, if you think of yourself as spiritual, not religious, what do you mean by that? And what is sacred to you, and how did you get here? And what kind of mystical experiences have you had? Because we don't have a chance to talk about that in daily discourse. You're not to be polite. You're not supposed to talk about politics or religion or sex. Well, at my age, I don't really want to talk about sex anymore. And 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 religion and politics is so explosive right now that it's very scary to try to talk to somebody about politics. So let's try religion. Maybe if we can learn to talk about our spirituality, that area of our life where we're looking for purpose and meaning and joy, where what happens after we die. If we can at least talk about that and hear each other out of a place of curiosity instead of a place of judgment, then maybe we can translate that into politics or some other areas that we really do need to talk about, and we need the skills of how to listen and talk.
Beautiful. I love that phrase, hear each other out of a place of curiosity instead of judgment. That's so important. So in your journey, your spiritual journey, as you have evolved and found what fits for you, what was one of the biggest challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome it?
Biggest challenges for me in terms of what? I mean, I've had plenty of challenges. So.
Right. Yeah. Just a challenge that sticks out in your mind, and what helped you overcome it.
Okay. Well, there was immigration. That was a huge challenge, learning a new language, learning how to do everything new. And I remember one time we first moved to Miami, and it was my parents and my 4 brothers and sisters aged 5. I was the youngest to 11. So this is a very different place for us, where we had lived where we had plenty of extended family, and the culture was so generous and kind to children and families, and to move to the United States. And this was back in 1960. So I remember as a 5-year-old standing in a grocery store and not being able to find my mother, and thinking, oh, I'm scared. I'm really scared. I can't ask anybody. If they come talk to me, I won't be able to talk to them. So I thought, Jesus, this is what I had been taught. Ask Jesus. So I said, Jesus, please help me find my mother. Nothing. Jesus, I need to find my mother. Nothing. So I thought, well, forget you. I'm going to go look for her. And so I finally found her. I found that you could, walk down the aisles and check out a whole aisle at a time, cross the aisle and see all the different, you know what I'm saying. I'm not explaining it very well, but
no, that makes perfect sense.
So I guess self-reliance, and then later I began to think, well, that didn't mean that wasn't a proof that there was no Jesus. That was a proof that I needed to use my smarts and my legs to find my mother.
Yeah.
And not just be scared. So I think that was a big wake up of, you got to rely on yourself and figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a powerful story. I can imagine how scary that must have been for you. And it's funny, when you were talking about that, I was thinking, so maybe you're expecting Jesus to appear to you and point, or I always joke about, like, a big sign will drop down and say, it would be written in, or a picture or something that a 5-year-old could read, would say, go 2 aisles down and turn right, and then you'll find her. And often divine guidance doesn't come that way. And I can see why that felt kind of shocking, and you felt, forget that. I'll just do this on my own. And another thought that came to me was that maybe the divine planted that idea to be self-reliant. Maybe that was the answer, and it just showed up in a different way. But
yes, when we talk about, some people talk this way, and I like to talk this way, of saying, well, what is my purpose in life, and what was I sent here for? What was my soul contract? What lessons did I come to learn? why did I put on this black hood of that keeps me from knowing the beauty and wonder of the universe and just into this body and what this body needs. Why did I come to this earth school? And so I think that self-reliance was that one of my learning, one of my lessons to be learned. And I think now it's because we have to figure this out about spirituality, because spirituality means we're all connected, or at least the way I define it, and many people do. We're all connected to each other. And that's what we have to really learn to make the changes that are needed now in climate weirding and economic decisions. And we see that it's a planet where we are literally all on the same boat. We got to figure this out together. Whatever happens to one of us will affect another. Mm-hmm. So it's like we're getting closer and closer to several catastrophes at the same time. And what can we do about it? And one way is to learn to talk to each other and to see this about being connected to each other, and learn to see that we are really connected to each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. That makes a lot of sense. And it is such a huge and important concept. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Well, so tell me a little bit more about, so I know you have, I think when we talked earlier, you said something about your working on creating a workbook, or you're going to do some work around spiritual but not religious. Is that, am I remembering right?
Yes, there's several little branches. One is that I started a meetup group, the Meetup, that app where you can find anything on Meetup, women over 50 who like to drink wine and watch movies. You'll find a group that does that. Or, 13-year-olds that want to play a certain game on an electronic game. So I'm calling it spiritual but not religious. But some other people had gotten that before, so I have to call it discussion group, spiritual but not religious. And it's here in San Marcos, Texas, where I live, because I want actual humans to talk to. I do a lot of communicating through Zoom, and it's wonderful. I'm so glad we have it. And I want this kind of back and forth that's available when we're in a group, especially when we're together. So we're meeting at the public library once a month. I wrote it up and thought, well, let's see. And it's been going on just for a few months, and we have something like 38 people have signed up. People have come to the meetings. The meetings have been very interesting. And so that's one direction that it's going. And the other direction is that I want to do a workbook, and I'm working on that. A workbook would be something that can lay flat on the table so that you can draw on it, so that people can doodle. I love to doodle, and I love to think and doodle. And so it would be a doodle, a spiritual doodle workbook.
Nice.
So
I love that.
Working on that and checking out how to make copies and how to get copyright and all of that. I have published a few books before on poetry, but self-published. So I know about self-publishing, but this is something that I want to have people carry with them and use.
Great. Do you have any idea of when that will be ready for the public?
Oh, I hope by next year for sure.
Nice. That's awesome.
That gives me 6 months still, because really it's just me. It's not that I have to get a publisher and go through that.
That's great. That sounds really exciting. There was a thought that came to my head, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Maybe it'll come back if it's important. That just sounds awesome. I love the I'm an art therapist. And are you trained as an art therapist as well? I can't remember.
I was trained as a social worker, and I
Oh.
ended up in child and family therapy. So I did a lot of art therapy and trained in a, like the continuing education kind
Mhm,
of training, but not specifically art therapy. But I
mhm,
loved it. It was such a great way to communicate with the kids.
I'm sure. And then, you said that you like to draw, and you're focused a lot on your art these days. What's your favorite medium to use?
Oh, well, since you mentioned it, let me move this real slowly. I'm sorry for those people that get dizzy. I'll move slow. The river is our real wealth. That is a sign I made for a protest that happened at
Mm,
City Council. We in San Marcos is a beautiful river with springs, and so so I do that. That's another one I've done too. That's a in the San Marcos River. One of the things that's going extinct is the Texas wild rice that grows in the river. And so this is wild rice tap dancing is what I call that one.
beautiful. So you're using your art for social activism, it sounds like.
Yes, yes. I mean, it's like, what am I here for? I'm here for
Mhm,
to spread positivity, to bring joy, because it's only out of joy that we're going to find what we need to do to work together. And so yes, so out of the arts
mhm,
also make you think in a different way metaphorically, and it's a lot easier to, you don't get triggered by words so much, and you are moved by the story. And so I think that's going to be really important way to communicate
mhm.
as we try to maneuver through these difficult times.
Yes, I agree. And I love what you said about listening from a different place, not listening from a place of judgment. And I think that when we use the arts, they communicate in a way that, well, art is a universal language. So when we use art, it can communicate things that words cannot, or it connects with people in a different way than words do sometimes, I think. So I think it's wonderful that you're using um, visual art and poetry as a way to sort of wake people up and help them think outside the box.
And not only that, which you have just described very well, but also within myself, I can reach deeper within myself. People can learn more about, oh, this is how I really think, or this is how I really feel. Because sometimes we're stuck in our little storyline of this is who I am and this is what I do. And forget to tap into our heart or our trauma to see
Mhm.
how it's affecting us. So art can help us. That's what art therapy um, is helpful for, as I
Mhm.
understand it. You would know more than I would about it.
Well, you're spot on. That's definitely a big part of it, that's for sure. So I'm guessing that when people listen to this replay, there's going to be some people that are, they're seeing something around them. They're feeling called. They're wondering, what am I here for? What's my purpose on earth at this point in time? And so if they're just getting started and they feel something that they're sensing something that needs to be changed, but they're not quite sure how to go about it, what advice would you have for them?
Okay, so this is a person who thinks I need to go deeper in myself to find my spirituality, to find my intuition, to find my sixth sense, to connect with all of me and not just the cerebral part of me, the storyline. So meditation. I mean, that's just, but meditation can mean so many things. Meditation is when you take some time for yourself, you're going to take this time to listen to your heart, to listen. You could listen to your heart beating and your breath moving. You could listen to music and how it makes you feel, and let yourself be um, float on the music into wherever that takes you. It can be dance, it can be yoga, it can be sit and the one that we think of as meditation, which is really pretty hard for most people to just sit. But you could go sit outside on a park bench and listen to bird song, and that's meditation. So I guess whatever allows you some, how to get selfish. I guess you have to learn how to get selfish, especially for women who are mothers and have children and work and are in charge of households. But also there's plenty of men who have multiple responsibilities, to how to set all that aside and say, now I'm going to just take time for me, not go to the gym and just really work out, although that can also be a meditation if you're also watching. But just how to be selfish enough to take some time for yourself. It could be 3 minutes of breathing. There's plenty of advice on YouTube and on the internet on short meditations. And it's nice to have somebody guide you through a meditation. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's open your mind to all the different kinds of meditation and find one. And you know, you could do a meditation under the night sky and feel awe and wonder about all that we see out there, or even on your computer. Look at those photographs that have been coming in from those telescopes that are on little spaceships that are going back in time. I mean, if that doesn't bring awe and wonder. So that awe and wonder is really a big part of how you find your real you.
That makes sense. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for all those examples of different ways to meditate, because sometimes I think people think, oh, I need to sit cross-legged and in a certain way and tone, or but you're right. I agree. There are so many different ways to meditate. I would love it if you could talk more about the importance of joy in all of this.
When we look at who am I really behind the identity cards with all the little numbers that we keep in the wallet, behind all the labels that people put on us, who am I really? Who is that is the same one that I was when I was 5 years old and in that grocery store? I'm still that same one. I've mastered English and I have done a lot of other things, but really that one that is just that being. If we can get a little flavor of that, then we'll see that in that it can be described as peace, it can be described as joy, it can be described as love. And like people who are looking in through different windows into the same round room, we may see a different angle on it. And we'll, oh, this is peace. That's what it is. It's peace. The ultimate reality is peace. And other ones, no, it's love. Because I know that because when I had my baby and I looked into her eyes, I felt this love that was, or joy, or dance, the letting go of all the dance like no one's looking. I like that. If you can get to that, that joy is our inner self. That is our basic self.
So like the purest, deepest essence of you, of each one of us, it sounds like.
Yeah. I don't know what word would you give to that deepest inner self?
Well, I think the qualities are all those things that you described. And so sometimes I call it like the spark of the divine. It's like the spark of the divine within each of us. Yeah. And so, different ways to describe it, I think. And hopefully more and more people will get connected to that, because I think that's a key component in being connected to others and being connected to the planet and listening from our hearts. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Those are wise words. I am curious if you have any upcoming events that you would like to tell people about.
Well, this every second Sunday at the San Marcos Public Library, if you happen to be in Texas, which I don't recommend necessarily to be in Texas at this time. But there's a San Marcos Metaphysical Fair that I will be speaking at. And at that, then I'll be speaking to this other group, which is really deep into metaphysical, and I need to bring them out a little bit. You know, it's usually I'm talking to people going, oh, that's kind of, you know, woo-woo, and trying to help them see that there's something in woo-woo. Now these people are really woo-woo, and I have to come out and say, well, science is pretty amazing too. You know, you can go to awe and wonder through science. So, so I'll be speaking to them. And then my book. I guess those are the three main things happening right now.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I hope you get a good turnout at your meetups and at the Metaphysical Fair, and of course with your workbook as well. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to reach out and connect?
Well, the meetup is probably the best place.
Okay.
And then, oh, my email address. I don't have a web page yet.
Okay.
So, and my email is my first initial and last name. So it looks like Crumbaut, Crumbaut, at hotmail.com. I have an antique email address. How many people do you know still have a Hotmail address? That was
I
from
like that.
98.
It makes it unique. It makes it stand out. That's awesome. Great. Well, you know, I've asked you a lot of questions, and I'm just curious, is there anything else that you would like to say that you think would be important for the people who will be listening to hear?
I think we are going through some very challenging times, and it's going to get more challenging. And so I just want to give you a little bit of the trust that I have that all of this is just your mother being lost in the grocery store when you're 5 years old. It's just like that. It looks catastrophic. It looks horrendous. And it really could be if your mother wandered off or got kidnapped or whatever I was thinking. But stay within yourself and be trusting that you can find her. You'll be able to find Mother Earth and connect with her. You'll be able to make it through these tests. These are just a series of exams at the end of the semester that we're going through. And I think if enough of us take it seriously and work at connecting with each other, that we can pull through, that the goodness that is deep inside of each of us can connect to my goodness, can connect to your goodness, and that will show in so many different ways. You just go for the one that makes sense to you, what brings you joy, what you want to share with other people. That's where you're going to find the most results.
Beautiful. Thank you. Very, very wise words. I appreciate you sharing that. And so I would like to just thank you, Carmen, for being here today. And I'd like to thank those of you who are listening. I invite you to reach out to me. You know, maybe you have a visionary story that you'd like to share. So reach out to me. My email is mindfultamara, that's with all A's, @gmail.com. And my website is thewilddivine.us. So please feel free to reach out. And also feel free to join my Facebook group, Spiritually Anchored Visionaries, because we're in the process of creating a movement, and we're going to be co-authoring a book together, some of us. So yeah, so take some time to check it out, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. So is this